So let's say we have a temperature of 26 degrees Celsius. How can you calculate the Fahrenheit temperature? The equation we are going to use is this equation. So we're going to use degrees Fahrenheit is equal to 1.8 times degrees Celsius plus 32. So we simply plug in the value of the given to the equation. So it would come 1.8 times degrees Celsius, which is 26, plus 32. So we multiply 1.8 by 26. So the answer is 46.8. And then add it to 32. The answer is 78.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So now it's your turn. Feel free to work on this example and pause the video. Let's say 2 degrees Celsius. Using the equation, we plug in the value of degrees Celsius to the equation. So we multiply 1.8 by the value of the given, which is 2, plus 32. We first multiply 1.8 by 2. So the answer is 3.6 plus 32. 3.6 plus 32 is equal to 35.6. So the answer is 35.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's go on to the last example. How about 31 degrees Celsius? Again, we apply the equation. So we multiply 1.8 by the given, which is 31, and then add to 32. First, we multiply 1.8 by 31, which give us the result of 55.8, and then add to 32. So our answer is 87.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's say we have the temperature of 95 degrees Fahrenheit. How can you calculate the Celsius temperature? The equation we are going to use is this equation. Degrees Celsius is equal to the quantity of degrees Fahrenheit minus 32 all over 1.8. So we just simply plug in 95 here. So 95 minus 32 over 1.8. So we do this first. 95 minus 32 is 63 over 1.8. 63 divided by 1.8 is 35. So the final answer is 35 degrees Celsius. So now it's your turn. Feel free to work on these examples and pause the video. The next example is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, we use the formula and plug in this value. So 98.6 minus 32 all over 1.8. 98.6 minus 32 is 66.6. You can use your scientific calculator or any type of calculator. All over 1.8. So 66.6 over 1.8 is equal to 37 degrees Celsius. So we go on to our last example. 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and we convert it to degrees Celsius. We use again the formula and plug in this value. So equal 68 minus 32 all over 1.8. 68 minus 32 is 36 over 1.8. 36 divided by 1.8 is 20. So the final answer is 20 degrees Celsius. So let's say we have a temperature of 70 degrees Fahrenheit. How can you calculate Kelvin? The equation we are going to use is this equation. Kelvin is equal to the quantity of degrees Fahrenheit minus 32 times 5 over 9 plus 273.15. So we're just going to plug in 70 over here. So we first subtract what's inside this one. So 70 minus 32 is 38. And then we multiply 38 to 5 over 9. So 21.11 plus 273.15 equals 294.26 Kelvin. So now it's your turn. Feel free to work on these examples and pause the video. So our next problem to be converted is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, we're going to use the formula and plug in the value of this one. So 212 minus 32 times 5/9 plus 273.15. So again, we subtract. 212 minus 32 is 180 times 5/9 plus 273.15. The next thing is multiply 180 to 5/9. So the answer is 100 plus 273.15. 100 plus 273.15 is 373.15 Kelvin. So we go on to our last example. Negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit to be converted into Kelvin. Again, we use the formula. Negative 40 minus 32 times 5/9 plus 273.15. Subtract. Negative 40 minus 32 is negative 72 times 5/9 plus 273.15. Negative 72 times 5/9 is negative 40 plus 273.15. So the final answer is 233.15 Kelvin. So let's say we have 373 Kelvin. How can you calculate the temperature into degree Fahrenheit? The equation we are going to use is this equation. So degree Fahrenheit is equal to Kelvin times 1.8 minus 459.67. So we plug in 373 here. (373) times 1.8 is 671.4 minus 459.67. So the final answer is 211.73 degrees Fahrenheit. So now it's your turn. Feel free to work on these examples and pause the video. For our next problem, we have 500 Kelvin. Again, we use the formula and plug in this value. So 500 times 1.8 minus 459.67 multiply 500 by 1.8, which is 900 minus 459.67, and the final answer is 440.33 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's go on to our last problem. 233 Kelvin convert into degree Fahrenheit. Again, we use the formula and plug in 233 to the formula. So 233 times 1.8 minus 459.67. Again, multiply this one. 233 times 1.8 is 419.4 minus 459.67. So the final answer is negative 40.27 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's say we have a temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. How can you calculate the Kelvin? The equation we're going to use is this equation. Kelvin is equal to degrees Celsius plus 273.15. So we just plug in 100 here. So 100 plus 273.15 is 373.15 Kelvin. So now it's your turn. Feel free to work on these examples and pause the video. So our next example is negative 40 degrees Celsius. Again, we use the formula and plug in this value. So, negative 40 plus 273.15 equals 233.15 Kelvin. So we go on to our last example, which is 25 degrees Celsius. We use the formula and then plug in 25. So equals 25 plus 273.15. So the answer is 298.15 Kelvin. So let's say we have a temperature of 300 Kelvin. How can you calculate the Celsius temperature? The equation we're going to use is this equation. So degrees Celsius is equal to Kelvin minus 273.15. We just plug in the value here to the equation. So 300 minus 273.15 is 26.85 degrees Celsius. So now, it's your turn. Feel free to work on these examples and pause the video. Let's say we have 298 Kelvin. Again, we use the formula. So, 298 minus 273.15 is 24.85 degrees Celsius. So let's now go on to our last example. 400 Kelvin, and we use the equation. So we have 400 minus 273.15 is 126.85 degrees Celsius. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching.